in high definition. Live, local, late breaking. This is KOLD News 13 Live.
It is a city in crisis, an evening of riots, looting, and fires, all in Baltimore, Maryland. So far, 15 officers have been injured, 6 of them seriously, and around 24 people have been arrested. The National Guard is now patrolling the streets. The governor declaring a state of emergency earlier tonight, and the mayor is now enforcing a curfew of 10 p.m. to 5 a.m., but that does not start until tomorrow. Also, all public schools will be closed tomorrow for safety reasons. Good evening and thanks for joining us tonight. Baltimore is engulfed in flames this evening. Violence and rioting continuing to get worse, putting residents and police and firefighters now in danger. There are conflicting reports about whether this fire that you're seeing right here is related to the riots, but the mayor's office is telling us tonight, in fact, it is. Groups have been pelting police officers in riot gear today with rocks and bricks all across the city. Maryland State Police are sending in more troopers now. The riot started hours after Freddie Gray was buried. The 25-year-old, as you know, died in police custody, suffering a spinal cord injury. Thousands attended Freddie Gray's funeral today. Dan?
Well, Heather, the riots were sparked by this video showing police arresting Freddie Gray and dragging him to a police van. Gray was hurt, but he didn't receive medical care, and he later died in police custody from a spinal injury. Now, would he have been treated differently had officers been wearing body cameras? The cop cam controversy grows bigger with every allegation of excessive force. Now, body cameras record officers' every move on a call, providing a look at exactly what police see, similar to what you're seeing from my perspective right now. In an investigation you'll only see on KOLD News 13, Som Lasias is joining us live with how these cameras are being used in our own communities. Som.
Well, Dan, they are being used with more and more regularity across southern Arizona. As we take a look at some of that video from Baltimore, that rioting that we've seen throughout the day, it reminds me of some of the discourse and some of the public dissent we've seen here on the streets of Tucson after 1997, 2001, and most recently last March after the U of A's Elite Eight lost to Wisconsin here in Main Gate Square. Now, again, incidentally enough, that incident was the first time TPD used body-worn cameras, and based on what we're seeing nationally, it's probably safe to say those body cams are here to stay.
23 with the vehicle, drivers passed out in the front seat.
From a DUI investigation on Oracle Road,
wake up, you hear me?
To a soccer mom blowing through an Oro Valley school zone despite the crossing guard and kids in the street.
Actually, kids in the crosswalk and the cross guard was out when you went through. Yeah, that's exactly why I stopped you there.
Oh, God, I'm just so embarrassed.
Bring your other hand back.
Encounters like these are recorded more so than ever before, not by cell phones or handheld cameras, but by something the size of a miniature flashlight.
This is the Axon body camera. You can see it up on my lapel here. It is a video recording device that I use daily.
Jeff Thomas is lead motorcycle officer with Oro Valley PD. His agency was first in southern Arizona to use body cameras back in 2012. Thomas actually volunteered for the program, but for others, it wasn't so easy.
There are some officers, just like in every other profession, that are afraid of change. It is a magnet.
Today, Thomas says his body cam is as routine as putting on the uniform. For his own protection and evidence-gathering capabilities, he wouldn't hit the streets without it.
With this device, I tap the start button twice. I hear the beeping that tells me it's recording, and then I'm ready to go.
One agency not ready to move forward with body cameras, at least not yet, is Pima County Sheriff's Department.
I can buy cameras all day long, and is there really an impact?
The Sheriff's Department is strapped for cash, Chief Deputy Chris Nano says, and county tax dollars could be better spent.
In my eyes, and if those problems are misconduct, excessive force, abuse by police, then I have bigger problems than just buying body cameras.
In addition, Nano says it's hard to build public trust considering this veiled attempt at transparency.
Then why are there certain agencies out there saying, but it's not public record?
Privacy issues pertaining to minors or victims is one reason, but there's also the black eye cops got after a series of deadly force situations nationwide. Video in most of those cases was captured by a third party and not police. But what if those officers were wearing body cameras?
I think that it helps people to kind of keep things in check, their emotions in check.
Could things have ended differently?
Again, I think the cameras are a reminder to the officers, and I think that the public, they see the officers with cameras on, and I think that helps with their behavior too.
I mean, just look at what's going on across country.
Tucson Police Chief Roberto Villaseñor says his department first considered body cameras about a year and a half ago. But their first true test came when TPD had 50 cameras on loan, following U of A's Elite Eight loss to Wisconsin in the 2014 men's basketball tournament.
And of course, we all saw the video from that, but that really gave us an idea of the benefit and some of the problems that are associated with body-worn cameras.
The biggest problem that day was one person, Sergeant Joel Mann, captured by multiple cameras, including his own, using what many consider excessive force as he cleared Main Gate Square. With the civil suit against Mann still pending, Villaseñor says it truly was a learning experience, not so much because of the actions of one officer, but because of the volume of evidence from just one incident.
There's 150 hours of viewing video in regard to that Elite Eight incident that showed us this is going to be a full-time job.
A full-time job for several people when you take into account storage, redaction, and IT maintenance. Considering TPD spent more than $250,000 on them for just 3 years, body cameras are not feasible for every agency.
There's enough of them out there, thousands of them. Let's see where this takes us.
But for Oro Valley Police,
you should always conduct yourself as if you're being videotaped.
And TPD.
But the benefits, in my opinion, far outweigh the negatives, because cameras have shown over and over that they document what occurs, and also that people just behave better when cameras are there on both sides of the camera.
You hate me?
Yes, I do.
Why?
TPD currently has 72 body cameras issued to motorcycle cops, bicycle patrol, and regular patrol officers. Oro Valley, with a similar mindset, issuing their 12 cameras to officers who have the most contact with the public. The Sheriff's Department, at this point, is not ruling out body cams entirely. They, too, realize it's probably only a matter of time until they become just as routine as tasers or dash cameras that we see in all of these cruisers. But again, this is a major expense for every agency, and of the 18 agencies nationwide, approximately 1/3 of them currently do have body cams. As for the Sheriff's Department, however, until there is more data collected, more funding becomes available, their public stance, at least for right now, is to sit back and wait. We're live on Main Gate Square, Som Lasias, KOLD News 13. Live local late break.
All right, thank you so much, Som. We have much more on this story on our Tucson News Now mobile app. You can go to News, then choose Special Reports. There you will find a study from Cambridge University on the effect of police cameras. Also tonight, the search continues for people responsible for tagging the historic Fox Theater over the weekend. A local restoration company donated its services to clean all of it up, but the anger over the vandalism still lingers. Right now, we have live team coverage for you on the response to the Fox Theater vandalism. Craig Reck did some digging and uncovered some shocking numbers tonight when it comes to graffiti reports and arrests.
First, let's start with Colton Schoen, who spoke to a former tagger. And Colton, he's fed up with what he saw at the Fox Theater.
Yeah, Dan, that's right. Israel Zavala owns the underestimated city on 4th Avenue, just down the street from this area here that's sort of been designated as a place for public street art. Take a look. You can see there is a mural here and some tagging. Now, Israel says this is art and should be cherished in our city. But what happened over the weekend at the Fox Theater is just plain disrespectful. This is the underestimated city on 4th Ave. Yeah. Owner Israel Zavala used to be a street tagger.
For me, it was more about the art. Me just creating a new stencil, going putting some dope stuff up. I was never into really like the crew scene.
But he gave up the life of putting stencils on walls for putting stencils on tees.
Being a business owner, you get the other side of the perspective. You know, I've had our windows bashed in. I've had our windows tagged.
He heard about the vandalism at the Fox Theater over the weekend and took to his store's Instagram account to sound off, saying it's pretty embarrassing and that it gives Tucson a bad name. Crews were out there cleaning it off today.
It might sound kind of hypocritical, and you know, some things are dope to bomb, some things are not. You know, when it comes to stuff like that, it comes down to respect.
Just off 4th Avenue is this building owned by Bright Properties. An employee tells me they just acquired this and some of the mural work here was commissioned. Right now, there is a proposal in the works from a board member on the Rialto Theater Foundation to bring a graffiti park or wall to Tucson. Something like this that'll be designated for street art on a grander scale. The board member tells me similar efforts brought down graffiti in places like San Diego, but Zavala says that might not work.
A lot of it is territorial. A lot of it has to do with crews and cliques, stuff like that, gangs.
Now, Zavala says that graffiti cannot be stopped, but he hopes that people who tag will think twice before they hit up places like historical landmarks because it could hurt city pride. Reporting live on 4th Avenue, I'm Colton Schoen, KOLD News 13, live local 8 breaking.
Craig Reck continuing our coverage tonight on this response to graffiti. Now, we're live in Midtown where a crew of volunteers will be out here this weekend for a cleanup effort. Now, families tell me they're excited to hear about that because they're seeing stuff like this pop up like they have before, but thankfully just not as much as before.
It's not as bad as it used to be. It used to be worse about 2.5 years ago when I moved in the neighborhood. It seems to, taper down some, which is a good thing.
You decide if it's good that the city takes an average of 650 graffiti reports every month. Whether it's through the hotline, emails, or new smartphone apps, that amounts to roughly 7,800 reports in 1 year. Not all of them are criminal, though. TPD's graffiti numbers at a glance show almost 500 reports since this time last year. More than 50 wound up with misdemeanor arrests. Meanwhile, some communities aren't waiting for results. The Neighborhood Association in Midvale Park has worked for years against graffiti and taggers. One homeowner had to replace his fence because of so much graffiti. He worried about the neighborhood when he saw gang tags years ago, but the community's response made him feel safe.
It proved to me that it was, because they took care of it. They didn't let it fester. It never became a problem. We weren't seeing cops coming through because they're trying to break up a gang fight. They were coming through, driving through just to see that the community's doing okay. And you can't ask for more than that.
All this volunteer work is great, and there's still more to be done. But remember that the city spends more than $700,000 to an outside company to clean up graffiti in public places. Now, I talked to that group tonight, and they say on average a month they have about 5,000 removals. Reporting live in Midtown, Craig Reck, KOLD News 13, live local 8 breaking.
All right, Craig, thanks a lot. Well, tonight the winds are a lot lighter and it is comfortable outside. Temperatures are in the 70s. Right now, just about 70 degrees at Flowing Wells High School, and it's comfortable. The winds are not very strong now. Just reading about a 5-mile-per-hour breeze, but picking up a little bit in Douglas. Right now, a 17-mile-per-hour wind out of the north. Winds get stronger tomorrow morning. We'll break down wind speeds and how high the temperatures will be climbing later this week. My forecast is just a few minutes away.
They letting the killer back out on the street. So it's no justice done for my son.
Disbelief and anger. He was charged with killing a man last week in Tucson. This week, he's been released from jail. Now the mother of the victim is speaking out.
And out of control in Baltimore tonight. The violence is escalating. Buildings on fire. Residents there in danger, and police are under attack. It gets worse by the hour, and we have live continuing coverage for you tonight. KOLD News 13 live at 10 continues for your neighborhood on this Monday. I'm Heather Rowe.
And I'm Dan Mares. We'll be right back.